All right, so this is a first. I'm actually about to interview a guy that we haven't met face to face yet, Mr. Cooper Brown. So here you are. You're already becoming a legend in the business, and you're this rookie. I mean, it's really hard to believe your numbers. Like, as you know, we had Justin Hagman on a call not so long ago. He's talking about, yeah, I just opened up an office. Their first week's wire, 27 grand, and I'm like, okay, back it up. You said that too fast. I mean, how many reps? Yeah, five, 4 reps plus the owner, like $27,000 wire. Something doesn't make sense. And then here you are showing up. You joined the business. You were a new rep in 2019. A little bit of a pandemic happened between your start date and today. And here you are, a rookie guy getting a $65,000 wire a couple weeks ago, like 65 grand. So let's just start off here, Cooper. Like, give us your story, give us your bio.
Yeah.
I'm sure a bunch of questions are going to spawn just from that.
Yeah. So I'll give you guys the abbreviated version. So grew up right outside of Nashville, Tennessee, a single mom. So I watched her do everything. She works a corporate job. So she works in finance. So I got to see the whole corporate thing growing up and was never really a big fan of it. So she works for Caterpillar Financial, their headquarters in Nashville. And I've watched her get passed on promotions for XYZ reason, whether it be no college degree, this, that, or the next. And it was never really merit based from what just the anecdotal evidence. And so I knew corporate probably wasn't my move. I played baseball my whole life. I went to Appalachian State University. I played baseball out there, and my degree is in cellular and molecular biology. So big old mouthful. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to be a surgeon. I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon that specialized with sports. So it was really, I want to do elbow and shoulder surgeries for baseball players. And looking back now, I think the reason why I wanted to do that is I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be around sports. That was really kind of my big three, which is why I wanted to go to med school and be a surgeon. And whenever I graduated, I went and I talked to my advisor. I was like, hey, what do I need to do to go to med school? He looked at me right in the eyes and he goes, shit, we should have started this last year. I was like, okay. So he told me I'm going to have to take a gap year, just a year between undergrad and med school, study up, take the MCAT, apply, and then hopefully get in and then go from there. And I was maybe 2 months into my gap year, and I was starting to do the math. I was like, if I have 4 years of medical school, 4 years of specialty after that, I'm not going to start making money till I'm 31, 32. Got to pretty much put my life on hold and be $750,000 in debt. So I was like, that doesn't sound great. And as I was shadowing all these surgeons in that summer, I was like talking to a lot of the orthopedic or medical device sales reps. And they were like, hey, you should come work for us. Don't do what they do. They're way more stressed out than we are. And I was like, okay, well, all right. Pharmaceutical sales sounds cool. Seems to be a lot of money in it. So let's go try that out. And then everywhere I applied to said, everything looks good, GPA, baseball player, degree, you got all the stuff. You just don't have any sales experience, and we can't hire you until you have sales experience. So I was like, okay, let's go find entry-level sales. So I went to Indeed, I typed in entry-level sales, I blasted out my resume to a bunch of people. And then I was actually a database pull in Hagman's office. So I didn't actually apply there. I was like, hey, yeah, sure. I sent out 100 of them. Maybe this is one of them. I went and I interviewed. I talked to Justin about nothing other than baseball for 30 minutes. I came back the next day for my second round interview, and Cole Gardner, who runs an office in South Carolina, did my second round interview, was my leader. We went through all the COVID together. I helped build his team on the way out when he got promoted in October of 2020. Then I opened up my office February of 22. Now we're here.
And now you're here. Yeah, it's interesting. Another baseball guy. There's something about baseball. We've got Brennan Fulkerson on this call, so that's close to his heart too. But a lot of you baseball guys do well. What is it with baseball being an interesting indicator of success in our business?
Failure. It's a game of failure, right? Like, no doesn't hurt when you have struck out in the bottom of the ninth with the winning run on third base to seal your fate going into the postseason. Like that hurts way more than somebody be like, I don't want your TV and internet. So I think it's just, you get used to failure and you get used to dealing with pressure, and you're either going to perform or you're not. But if you don't, good news is, best part about baseball, there's always tomorrow. Right. And I looked at the field the same way. I was like, I'm going to give it my best all day long. Where it lands, it lands. And if it don't happen today, I've got tomorrow.
Right. So here you are in Knoxville, right? You're in Knoxville, Tennessee. Right?
Yep.
And again, keep my numbers accurate here. $65,000 wire. That sounds
69.
60. Oh, sorry for selling you short. And how many reps did it take to produce 69 grand?
We had right around 30. We had right around 30. And that was the week before I promoted out. So then I promoted out the next Monday, and we are currently on pace to do it again. So we'll see if we finish the week strong like we did.
And so what are you crediting this success to?
I really don't think our business is that difficult. I think if you take care of people and you develop people and you try and make them better, and I think it comes around. I think Hagman did a really, really good job of being super strict on me. Like, my standards were not the office standards when I was in Hagman's office. He was like, you don't, like, whatever my leadership standards are not what you are required to do. Right. Like, I took off one Saturday the whole time I was in his office. It was my very first Saturday to go to a homecoming football game. I hit a bonus every weekend. I carried a lot of people to bonuses at the end of the week. And it's just kind of how I've run my office. Is like, your job as a leader is to take care of yourself financially Monday through Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday is for your team. Right. So I think Hagman has like really, really instilled in me. Like, I get terrified when I leave my office. Like, I've gotten a qualified assistant manager. They can run everything. They can do everything, but I like despise missing my office time. Like, there's nothing more that I do not like. And I feel guilty, even though I don't need to. Like, being in my office is something that he like really drilled into me. It's like, you have to be around, you have to have FaceTime, you have to, like, take care of business and be there for the guys, and then spend quality time with them. And I think that core group is now extending influence out. I think it's been one of the big things that has done really well for us.
It's like that old saying, all's well that begins well, right? Like, you train somebody well, you train them with a high standard, and look how that's translated to, here you are, this rookie owner pulling in $69,000 wires, and it's not even phasing you. The rest of us are kind of like, how are you pulling that off? But you're kind of expecting that, is kind of my guess, based on the high standards Justin has trained you with.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, number 1 and 2 in the rankings, it's you two guys that are, certainly smashing all kinds of records in the business. This is fantastic. I asked you before the call too. I'm like, hey, what do you credit the success to? And you said, you're highly motivated from the beginning, and then you put a lot of emphasis on your preparation. You want to touch on those two things?
Yeah, I think, just like really going from the get-go is like, I'm not in this business to run an office or be a high level owner or like really a promoting owner. Like, it's not why I'm here. I'm here for like long term, right? Like, the highest levels of consulting. I'm not, my day-to-day is like important and I prepare a lot for it, but I've got a sticky note on right next to me. It says 10 offices by 2028, which is going to average 2 a year. Hopefully I beat it, right? So like, I think that the long-term vision and everything that I learned and developed while I was in Justin's office is kind of continuing to propel me forward. So when I started in Justin's office, and maybe my second or third pre-management meeting, he was talking about national conference and consultants walking out and everybody getting a song that plays when they walk out. So that day I went into my phone, I created a playlist. It's called Consultant in Training. So I've never looked at myself as a rep. I've never looked at myself as an owner, as a promoting owner. I'm just a consultant in training. All right. So I'm just building whatever it's going to take for me to run a high level organization. And anytime I hear a cool song that I'm like, the first 30 seconds of that are pretty cool, I add it to the playlist and just have something else as options for whenever they're like, hey, you need a walkout song. I'm going to have 20 options or whatever to do. And then prepare is like I prepare weekly, but I also do a level of preparation in the development over time to where people kind of take off on their own and then they start giving me more than I expect. Right. So I expect every week 3 professional goals, a personal goal, and they're all written out timely and how I want them done. And now most of my reps send me 5 to 10 every week. And like, this is what I'm committing to. This is what I'm going to do. These are things in my personal life I'm going to get sorted out or solved or buy a car or whatever it is. These are things professionally where I think I'm at with the development level I want to go to next. And these are the action steps I'm going to get there. And I've got a really good relationship with my guys to where if they don't know or they're curious about what they need to do to go to the next step, like I have people come into my office at least once a week and they're like, hey, what do I need to do to go to like the next level in your eyes? And then I'll just tell them, and they're like, okay. And then they put the actions forward. Right. So whether it be interviewing or training or selling more in the field, whatever it is, or the more development or team building or whatever, like I think me preparing them with the knowledge on the front end pays dividends much longer than if I were just to be like, hey, this week send me blah, blah, blah. I think that's been a big one.
And what does your preparation look like for the day? Like, are you showing up an hour before everybody shows up? You doing it all the night before? Like, what does that piece of preparation look like?
I'm more of a night person personally. So like if I have, let's just say a bunch of territory to cut or whatever, I like to do a chunk of it at nighttime because I'm more kind of up and active night owl style. And then I'll be here 45 minutes to an hour before my guys get here. And then we'll cut out our territories. We'll make sure that the game plan's good to go. And then we move. But I've taken a lot of responsibility and leadership and given it to those top 4 people in my office right now that are building assistant management style crews. So for us, like we'll run like a station or a COD every day. Like I haven't scheduled one in the past 2 or 3, 4 months, but I do go in and look at them and like, all right, cool. I'm okay with us talking about this. So our guys are getting a lot more responsibility and they're super bought in when it's their time to run a station. They're like, I came up with the topic. I'm eligible to run a station because I was one of our top performers in the last week. I feel passionate about this. I'm going to teach this. And then they've got a different level of conviction versus if I'm like, hey, you're going to talk about how to map your territory correctly, or you're going to talk about the 4s today. Right. And they're like, oh, okay, here it goes. Where they're taking that responsibility, accountability. They're like, no, I chose this. I'm going to run it really well. And then giving out the praise, right, of doing that. And then everybody's like, oh, I want to run one like that to where I get the love or whatever it is. So preparation wise, I prepare on Sundays, right? I plan out what days I'm going to be doing where are my office days. I'm going to hold somebody back and teach them stuff there. I've set up all my one-on-ones on Sundays and try and get ahead of the week for that part.
Yeah. Awesome. I've just got one more question, then I'm going to open it up to the group.
Yeah.
You also stated that you put a good emphasis on your culture, and so your rookie year, weeding out some negatives. Can you talk about your culture a little bit?
Yeah, I think that the culture, so I say it a lot. I'm sure I'm not the first person to come up with this, but like recruiting gets them in the door, culture keeps them around. So if I don't keep a really solid culture or a really solid unit together, then I'm going to lose the next consultant or the next stud when they walk in. So like one story kind of sticks out to me. So I had probably 25 people in my office before we hit 30, and 2 of my very top performers, and I mean like the top of the top, breaking all my office records and stuff like that. 2 of them were being really negative to a guy that was probably a medium to medium low performer, but just a super nice kid, really like tries really hard, works on developing himself, just like the type of person you want in your business. And they were being negative to him down on a business trip in Atlanta. I got in my truck, I drove down to Atlanta, and I fired both of them in front of everybody. Right. And it just sent the message like, I'm not going to allow anyone to tarnish the culture or that anyone else is going to experience in my business, regardless of how much you produce. Right. Like they were $2,000 to $3,000 per week people, and I have no problem getting rid of them. Because like that's how important the culture is to me. Like I'll tell them all the time, like if we got to get rid of if we're going to have a bunch of negative people, I'll get rid of everybody and start over from 5 people again without blinking an eye. Like I'll start over from 1 if we have to. right? But then, and obviously we don't have to do that because people get on board with it, but it's the ideal of, hey, the culture is that important to where no one is irreplaceable. If you're not going to get on board with it, go find a different job. That then has, I don't have to have that conversation every time. Now my top 5, 6, 7, 8 leaders in my office, they can maintain culture and direct conversations and cut stuff out. And now I don't have to be the one to do it every time because they're like, no, this is how we do things. This is our identity. We're not going to do it differently. If you don't like it, then leave.
That's great.
It's too important to look away from.
And you're not lacking the confidence to rebuild from 5 if you had to, huh?
Not at all.
No fear.
None.
All right. What questions do we have here, guys? Let's open it up for Mr. Brown.
I'm all ears.
Hey Cooper, what's up?
What's
I
up,
have a
man?
question for you. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey man, it's pretty awesome all the stuff you've been doing. You've been promoted out a little bit earlier than I have. I think I got promoted out April of 2022. But you know, hearing a $69,000 wire, I'm like, shit, well, I didn't get my shit together. So I'm just curious to know, you know, if you said that you have no problem, obviously, from going back down to 5 and having the full confidence to getting it back up to a 30-man office, ready to promote. I'm curious to know, what are some actionable things that you would be doing if you were back at that 5-man office? And like, how are you like creating white rabbits? Like, what are some things that you're going to be doing to work yourself out of the field?
Yep. So I'm number one being the white rabbit. I'm going to set the pace, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You can try to high roll me, but that's the best you're going to get is trying. Okay. And obviously I'm going to get beat sometimes, but the more that people are competing for it, obviously that's what I'm going to go for. But actionable items. So when I was small, I brought everybody in, and our office time was built around our recruiting process and our training process. So everything is going to be exactly how I want it before you are allowed to interview, train, talk about my company, or represent my company's image. So I sat down with everybody and I went through slide by slide by slide by slide of our interview presentation. This is how I want it done. Okay, you do it, you do it, you do it. All right, nope, that wasn't quite where we want it to be. Try again. And I made sure that that was crystal clear, everybody across the board. So if I could start everybody's interview at the exact same time, minus the CPR, they would be word for word, verbatim, and just be an echo. I set out all the training scheduling. All right, this is what I want them to work on here on the first day. They're then going to get that competent. Until then, they'd stay there, right? And then we go to next day, next day, next day, next day, whatever it may be. And then I went really hard on recruiting. And then when I got done doing the extra second rounds in the afternoon, I bust my ass to the field and then high rolled. So I had multiple of my move crew, and actually the girl that I just opened up, she said, I had this weird realization that you just got to own her and you're outworking me and your name's on the company. It's like, and she's like, I want to get to where you're at. Why am I not putting in your level of effort or more? And I'm like, it's a good question. So then she turned it around and she was my first deal. But yeah, I think being the example, showing it to them, and then my scalability has to rely on whatever systems I have in place. And then my training and my practice has to be elite. Right. So one of the main things and main reasons why I'm a proponent of in-person offices is that it gives me a better ability to manage and keep track of how my practice pitch is with all of the reps included. Because when I was on Zoom, I would have to jump from breakout to breakout to breakout. And then they started to catch on that I only showed up one time. So then once I showed up, they'd like mess around or whatever after that. So like and I'm sure that any like athletes or former athletes or musicians or anything that takes a lot of practice, like the level at which you practice is going to be the level at which you play, right? So if I practice at half speed and I get to full speed in the game, I'm going to mess up because I haven't practiced that enough to memorize it muscle memory style. So the elite level of practice is where you're going to make your money, but it's also going to be where you develop your team at, right? So if your guys on your team see you, it's time to practice our pitch, and they see you like dart to the bathroom, well, obviously that's going to be their first move. right? Or if they're like messing around the whole time, then they're probably going to mess around the whole time, right? So making sure that the top people that I can trust and I want to build my business around, and those are my next owners, like y'all all have to be on board, and then you police from there. Does that make sense, Matthew?
Yeah, for sure does. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, who's Matthew? That's Ferg over there.
Ferg, my dog.
Yeah, it got me thinking in sports. It's like I've always been dumbfounded that, the bench warmers show up after the starters for practice. Like if Kobe Bryant's on your team, how can you let the guy who's making the most money, who's scoring the most points? I mean, shouldn't you be showing up before that guy? So interesting to see how, your first owner kind of caught wind of that and became that Kobe Bryant type of player. I think that's great.
Yeah, one of my favorite Kobe quotes is like, I'm in the gym before you, I'm in the gym after you, I'm working out and you're not. Why the hell would I pass you the ball?
Right. Yep.
Valid.
Yep. What else we have here?
Hey, Cooper, I got a question on your leadership development. When you're once a guy's hit your field standards, what responsibilities do you focus on first? How do you teach them? And then how do you continually add, in which order do you add your responsibilities to them?
Yeah, so once they hit field standards, their next obligation for me is to master the field. So for me, mastery is 9 out of 10 days selling. Like, everybody's gonna roll a donut every now and then, but like, your next goal is to get really, really good at the field. And then you're gonna teach, then you can learn how to train people, then you can learn how to interview people. Now, obviously depends on the person and how quickly they're picking up on things and how quickly they're getting good at stuff. But I've had people come in, hit leadership standards, learn how to train the next week, get a new start, then start interviewing and get their own new start, right? So the first one is obviously somebody that came in, whether we were doubled up or whatever. But me personally, I am going to move at your pace kind of person. I will not want it more for you than you do. If you don't want to build a team, fine. You don't want to put the effort in to learn how to train or interview, that's fine. But you're not going to have the opportunity that the other people will have, regardless of how much you're producing. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's like, I lay out what it looks like. This is how you get to where I'm at or where you want to be or whatever the circumstance may be. And now you have to come meet me with the work ethic and the drive to do it. So then as they learn the interview, I'm like, all right, cool. So before you interview, I'm going to hear you do one. All right. And then so I'll have them sit down and do a mock interview, and I'll be like, okay, cool. That was great. Now you're eligible to interview. Make sure you're here on time. You're on our Zoom link, all that good stuff. And then training for me is like, I practice with in the practice pitch time. So I'm going to let them start working with a new person. I'm going to sit and listen to how they train. And if I can't be in there, then their leader is going to be a part of that and listening to how are they coaching? How are they training? Are they all break, no build? Are they all build, no coach? Like, where are they at? How do we get them to develop from there? And that all comes out of my leaders with leaders meetings that I'll have. So we'll do like a start, stop, continue, but we'll do it for everybody. And I have them rank themselves 1 to 10 on field production, interview ability, train ability, and then first gen development. All right. So you rank yourself 1 to 10. Where are you? How are you doing? What do you need to get better at? What do your people need to get better at? And then we kind of go from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So more specifically, I'm curious, like, when someone needs to learn how to train, is it a part of your morning routine, or do they have to come early, stay late? When do they have to do one-on-ones? Do you have it written down? Like, how do they learn?
Yep. So we have it written down. And when I run my opportunity meeting or my pre-man, that is when my leaders and my core guys split up the group of all of our leaders that are left, and they teach training and they teach interviewing. So they see it multiple times. From the first day when they get promoted, they're no longer watching pre-management. They are now seeing, all right, cool, this is our training breakdown. So if you do not know training, you are not allowed to go to the interview group. until you know training, perfect, right? So then we'll do like a quiz style. So, all right, cool. This is day 1. Tell me everything you're teaching them. Okay, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And so that way I'm testing to, hey, I need to know that you know what you're doing. But then B, if you're performing in the field, you're obviously doing it well. Can you scale it? Can you replicate it? And this is the breakdown at which I teach it. Is that more clear, or am I just talking in circles here? If so,
No, good. Would you feel comfortable sending out your packet of your training?
Yeah.
Or how your guys teach training?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, just shoot it to me. I'll share it with you, Grant.
Perfect.
A question came in. This is actually a good question, considering we've had so many superstars come on the call. KJ typed in a question here. I'll just read it. What are some tips you'd share about developing women into leadership roles?
Yep. So my first outside deal was a female, which is awesome, I think. And I think that like girls are just as good, if not better than guys. And it's just about like the coaching conversations that I have are a little bit different. So what I mean by that is like with the guys, a lot of them, I can tell them straightforward, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. You're messing up. You need to fix that this way. With girls, I do a lot more of, I'm going to ask the question so that you get to the answer on your own and it's your own idea. And then I also ask all of the girls in my business, would you prefer to have your coaching sugar coated or directly to you? Because I will be direct or I can sugarcoat. I just need to know how you would like it packaged on the way. And then it's just tweaking, right? Because a good thing and something that I may have taken for granted, but I had like a very strong female figure in Bailey, who's the girl I promoted out, and her being in my office, being able to run stuff, taking a lot of control, just like showing them what like a boss looks like, right? Before she was an actual boss. Right. And then I've got 2, 3, 4, maybe 4 girls that she had a lot of impact on before she left that have now taken over that role and is showing the next crop of females how to do it. Right. Because when we first opened, it was just Bailey and 5 guys. Right. So she was like, I'll be damned if I'm going to get ran over, right, by any of the guys here. So she stood her ground, which is great. Right. So somebody gives her shit, she gives it right back. Right. And then I use the resources around to make sure that, hey, I need her to talk to like really boss level females, and I just facilitate that conversation. So all my girls would get on the all female calls, like the all woman calls. I made sure that they had time set up with just top owners in our campaigns or top consultants, right? So I have my girls around Rebby, I have my girls around Brandy. And I just try and get them around people that are either performing well or doing well, or they've seen talk at a conference, whatever it may be, so they can relate and talk about things that may be a little bit different or awkward for them to come to me with. And then I think it goes back into the relationship side of things too, right? So my guys and girls know that I really do care about them as people. And when I give advice or coaching, it's not because I don't think that you can do it or come up with it on your own. It's because I want you to be better. Right. And I always reference their goals and what they said. So Bailey, you said you wanted to be open in Q1 of 2023. Like, if you're doing this, do you think that's going to get us closer or further away from you opening soon? Okay, so what would be the solution to that? Yep. And I would add blank. Does that answer your question, KJ?
That was perfect, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, Cooper, we're at time. I mean, it's been fun hearing your story, getting to know you. I mean, I look forward to NatCon. I assume we're going to see you at one of the NatCons. You're going to be at both of them.
I will be at one for sure. The
One of
rest,
the
for sure.
NatCons. You'll be walking on stage, picking up some brass.
I hope so.
Promoting Owner of the Year, possibly.
Hagman got a pretty good head start.
Yeah, he's got a good head start. But Brennan did type in the chat because they're slipping a little bit in Miami. He only got a $53,000 wire, so he's giving you a chance to dethrone him this year.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I can think of something cooler.
Yeah, but thanks for your leadership, and thanks for setting a bar again. Considering you're a new guy, I mean, you must be in your mid-20s. I'm assuming you don't have to tell me exactly how old you are.
I'll tell you, 26.
26 years old. getting $69,000 wires. A little surreal, probably.
Very. I had imposter syndrome for the first 3 months, 4 months, like bad. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, keep it up, man. Keep it up. We really appreciate you, and thanks for giving us the time. I'll see you on the Hageman call in a couple weeks, so I'll be talking to you soon.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay, thanks, Cooper. See you guys.